Hello, my name is Glikeria, and in this video I'm going to explain to you how to clean your aura, why it is of vital importance to do that, and what are some of the things you might experience while doing so. But first, we'll need to get some theory out of the way so that you can understand why you're doing what you're doing, and you can even do your own experiments with it on the long run. If you wish to learn more about the contents of this channel, you can do so by reading the About section of my channel. I also want to note that all of my English videos will have Greek subtitles, and all of my Greek ones, as I intend to make videos in both languages, will have English subtitles, so hopefully no one's going to be left out. Now let's talk a little bit about energies. Our bodies run on energy. This energy is also known as the vital force, the witch power, the chi, or bioelectricity. This energy is responsible for how strong or how weak our immune system is, for our so-called energy levels, whether we feel tired or energized even after a long day's work, and it can also be responsible about the health of our internal organs. But this also has to do with the chakras, and it's still a bit early to talk about those. The level of our energy or bioelectricity is also responsible for our mood. When we have low bioelectricity, we feel tired and grumpy, and if we have too little, we could become depressed. This is one reason why most people who do yoga, as yoga is one way of raising our body's bioelectricity, feel more energized throughout the entire day and seem to have a more positive mood and uplifting spirits even towards the end of the day, when the average person feels exhausted and irritable. There is a variety of ways to raise our bioelectricity, but we'll cover them up in another video. So now that you understand what bioelectricity is and how it affects us, let's talk about the exchange of energies that happens when we interact with other people. When we are having a conversation with someone, regardless of the topic or the effort we put in it, there is always an exchange of energies that happens between the speakers. This exchange can vary both in quantity and in quality, and after the conversation is over, we may feel more energized or at the same level as before, or we could even feel exhausted. I am sure many people have had this experience before, to suddenly feel tired after talking to someone, but none of them has been conscious of it. In fact, you will notice that most of the things you learn through my videos are things that could be happening to you on a daily basis, but you had never thought that the reason behind them could be spiritual. And it's also quite possible that you were never conscious of the changes that were happening in your energy levels and your mood in the first place, until it was too late at night and you simply attributed your unusual exhaustion to your body's need for sleep. Most people have become so used to their body's low levels of bioelectricity that they think this is just how their bodies became as time passed, but this is not true. The falseness of this can be seen in certain parts of India where yogis, people who do yoga on a daily basis and have reached higher levels of understanding, as well as certain abilities that people call supernatural but can actually be attained through meditation, can live way above the average life expectancy of a modern man and can look very young both physically and mentally, as if they were in their 30s while in fact being in their 60s and 70s. One of the longest lived yogic who has been recorded to this day was Trailanga Swami, who had lived for close to 300 years. And now we think that being exhausted, forgetful and sick in our 30s, our 40s and 50s is normal? I highly doubt that. Getting back on topic though, the exchange of energies that happens between two speakers doesn't necessarily have to be damaging for either of them. As I said before, one could even feel energized after conversing to a specific individual, and this could happen for many reasons. To start off, let's talk about the ways that someone may draw more energy out of us, something that's also known as sucking the energies out of someone, which can result in us feeling tired after the conversation is over. or even as the conversation unfolds. The ideal exchange of energies between two individuals should normally be at the same level. What this means is that we would give and receive an equal amount of energy. However, when there is an imbalance, we may end up giving more than what we are getting back, which is going to leave us feeling drained. One such example would be our talking to someone who's indifferent towards us or towards the conversation topic we've chosen. Someone who is indifferent will not make a conscious attempt at participating in a conversation. This can also happen with people who are so certain and stubborn about their beliefs and who consciously refuse to accept any belief that goes against their own. This will result in us giving more energy through our talking, our thoughts on the subject and our emotions about it, but not receiving the same amount back. One way to solve this is by changing the conversation and to find something that the other person may engage in, or to simply avoid talking to that individual who is indifferent towards us. Of course, there are also shy and introverted people who should not be confused as being indifferent. These people just need a different approach and a bit more patience from us, as they need some time in order to feel comfortable and open up. Another way that someone may drain our energies throughout a conversation, which is in fact one of the most common cases I've witnessed, is when someone plays the so-called role of the victim. This usually happens with individuals who complain, whine, and even cry about certain circumstances that make them unhappy. But no matter how many advices and help they may receive from others, in the end they never do anything to help themselves other than to continue complaining. The role of the victim is the most successful one in order to suck the energies out of someone, as people not only give their full attention to the victim, but they also become emotionally engaged and invested even in order to help them out. Again, this is not to be confused with people who have genuine problems and may not act on the solutions given by others because they lack the confidence of doing so. In fact, these people would avoid complaining about their circumstances all the time, as they realize that the problem is no longer external but internal. However, the people playing the role of the victim are satisfied with the attention and emotional investment given by others and don't really care about looking within them to search for a solution. One way to deal with these individuals is to consciously change the topic of conversation when they start complaining about their problems, or to simply avoid these individuals as a whole. Another thing you could do is to remind them of the solutions you had given to them the previous time you talked about that problem, but they will most likely make some excuse as to why they didn't try them out. And another smart but surely time-investing method to deal with them would be to play the role of the indifferent person. It would then be almost like a battle as to who would be able to drain more energies out of the other person. I personally don't advocate this method, as it will not have any positive long-lasting effect towards either you or the victim. There are two more ways with which an individual may drain our energies, but these two affect us almost subconsciously. In other words, we may not consciously give our energies to the other person, like in the above two examples, but we may do so in an almost desperate way of putting up a defense and making the other person go away. The most blatant example of this is when an individual raises their voice against us or even physically threatens us. This way of terrorizing our mental state and our physical integrity forces us to subconsciously give our energies to the one who's making us feel that way. The terrorist can also achieve this effect without being loud or physically threatening. He or she could only use the proper words and proper tone, and the effect would be the same. The final method with which an individual may suck our energies, and mind you, most of these people don't even know what they're doing. They're not consciously aware of how and at what degree their behavior could be toxic, is when a person takes the role of the interrogator. This is the person who's constantly interrogating our actions and our decisions, constantly making us second-guess ourselves. The interrogator is the kind of person who may even delve into our past to talk about our faults and mistakes, forcing us to try to justify ourselves or to feel guilty. The subconscious panic and agitation that's created by the interrogator, same as with the terrorist, subconsciously forces us to give our energies willfully to the other person. To summarize, there are 4 methods or roles with which an individual can drain our energies while having a conversation. These are the role of the indifferent person, the role of the victim, the terrorist, and the interrogator. These roles can occur subconsciously to an individual when their energy levels, their bioelectricity, their chi, are low. It is possible that a person can inhibit more than one of these roles. It is also possible that a person may behave that way regardless of their energy levels, and this can be caused by a variety of reasons, such as their early upbringing, their zodiac planetary influences, their experiences with other people, and so forth. It is also important to be self-aware when we subconsciously try and play any of these roles. When our energy levels are low, we may become grumpy and interrogate others for no real reason, basically trying to start a fight out of nowhere. Or we may complain a bit too much about our circumstances or problems, seeking to replenish our low bioelectricity by someone else's energies. It is best to avoid interacting with others in these ways, both for their and your well-being. When we feel grumpy and exhausted, it's best that we take a second before responding to someone's question, and of course take our time to replenish our energies through meditation. It's understandable that this will not always be possible, especially if we're at our workplace or anywhere where we're unable to spend some time with ourselves. As you start doing, hopefully you'll start doing, the meditations I will be sharing with you, I will also give you some tips and tricks in order to maintain your energy levels high while being with others who may not be the most pleasant people to be with. In fact, as long as you devote yourself to this journey, you will realize that your energy levels will remain high regardless of how tiring or long your days are, and you will be almost unaffected by others' attempts of draining your energy, and consequently, you will also cease to subconsciously try and drain the energies of others. Despite of that, it is always important to be conscious of ourselves. So why don't you try and think which of the roles I just explained are you more prone to act as when your energy levels are low? You can pause the video and think about it, and next time that you feel exhausted and just not quite right, you can think twice before automatically responding with any of these roles to a loved one or a friend. We could avoid many meaningless arguments and escape many negative emotions if we just became a bit more aware of ourselves at any given time of the day. We can learn so much about ourselves and others if we consciously try to think how we feel in random moments throughout the day. Meditation is definitely going to make us more aware in that regard, but a conscious effort in analyzing our emotions is also needed. One last thing I need to explain to you before we head towards the aura cleaning is the quality, so to speak, of each person's energies. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but not all people give the same kind of energy. Not all people give the same kind of vibe. Sometimes we may say that an individual or a certain place has a good aura. This actually has to do with that individual's or that place's energies. Our energies are reflected in our aura. For those who don't know what an aura is, according to Wikipedia, an aura or human energy field is a colored emanation said to enclose a human body or any animal or an object. To put it with more simple words, an aura is an energy field that exists around any living entity and any material object. To the physics enthusiasts, the aura is created by the vibrating atoms and molecules that comprise all matter. The aura is unique for each person and it cannot be seen by the naked eye. In fact, it cannot be seen by our physical eyes, but it can be seen with our astral vision, or what you might have heard as the third eye. or by machines that can recognize the different vibrations that make our aura. It is important to note that just because we can't see something, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. This should be rather self-evident, but there are many people who use this mindset to debunk many spiritual concepts. If you're one of those people who watch this video just to deny everything, I would simply suggest that you approach this subject practically rather than mentally. In other words, practice the aura cleaning on a daily basis without having any expectations of whether it will or won't succeed, and then simply observe. If you prefer the more scientific action-reaction-conclusion kind of approach, then simply do that. Earlier, I mentioned that there is a difference in quality in people's energies, and subsequently, this can be seen and felt in people's aura. There are certain individuals who have a more vibrant and positive aura, while there are others whose aura gives off a nasty and disturbing feeling. There are again many factors that contribute to this result. Planetary placements, that has to do with one's astrology, and we'll talk about it in future videos. Childhood experiences, past trauma, and even the people with whom an individual is surrounded can greatly affect the energies of their aura. I have personally met people who seem and are very uplifting and positive in their lives, yet their aura is extremely dirty, resulting in causing me a headache after talking and exchanging energies with them. Even a person's religious and spiritual beliefs can have an effect on their aura. Basically, anything that has to do with our experiences in life and who we truly are can be reflected in our aura. A person's health can also be reflected in their aura. There have been experiments with one of the first machines that were built for viewing a person's aura, and these machines indicated a different color in the aura in specific parts of a person's body where they have had an infliction or an injury. Different experiments have been made, and it's been also found that different emotions change the color of our aura accordingly. I personally find this information groundbreaking, as it shows that our physical everything can be seen in our aura, in this spiritual extension of ourselves. Taking this one step further, we need to realize, and science would have proved it by now if they wanted to, that a conscious effort in changing the color of our aura can actually have a visible effect to our aura and to our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. In other words, by thinking or visualizing, as in thinking in the form of images, we can alter the condition of our aura, and consequently, much more than that. The fact that our thoughts can have an effect on our physical reality is something that science has actually proved. The placebo effect is just one example of that. Numerous accounts of people praying, in other words, thinking with intensity about something they desire, and then their prayers coming true, is another example of the power of our mind. I know that religious people may be offended by that statement, but when you understand how the mind works, you realize that you can truly alter your own reality, as well as the reality of others. I am not against people believing in a higher power, as this can give them strength. However, I do not support leaving one's fate in any God's hands, or deeming ourselves powerless in front of God's plan. As I have studied astrology and have seen how the events of our lives can easily be observed in the stars, does that mean that we are unable of escaping them? Not necessarily. And even if we can't escape them, we can surely reduce their negative impact in our lives or in our loved ones, as through our own astrology, we can also take a sneak peek at the conditions of our immediate environment. You should be aware that things like astrology may come up often in my videos. You should also be aware that just because I'm talking about the spiritual aspect of things, it doesn't mean that that's all there is to it, and that the physical aspect doesn't matter. Everything is connected. Before an illness appears in the body, it can first be seen and felt in the aura. If we eat something that makes us sick, that sickness will also be seen in the aura, although we will have initiated through physical means. In other words, the physical affects the spiritual. Likewise, if our energies are low, we become depressed. If there are blockages in our chakras and our energy is not flowing freely, this can manifest in physical ailments or even disabilities, such as dyslexia, thyroid problems, and plenty of other things. You will be able to better see the connection of the above in the video where we'll talk about the chakras. But the conclusion is the same: the spiritual affects the physical as much as the physical affects the spiritual. Please don't forget that. I may only be covering the spiritual aspect of things, but as an example, one reason you could be feeling exhausted during the day could also have to do with what you eat, how much you hydrate yourself, and how much you move your body, as in working out or going for a walk throughout the day. The good thing with meditation is that you may have flashes of intuition where you may realize that this X or Y thing that you are doing is actually harmful for your health, or that you are actually lacking an X or Y element in your diet or in your life. Be aware of those and try your best to be conscious of how and when you feel the way you do. Now that the theory is out of the way, let's get down to business. Cleaning your aura is a very simple process, but it can take 5 to 10 minutes if you're a beginner. At first, you may have a difficulty seeing the bright light, and even more so feeling that your aura is clean, and this is absolutely normal. Imagine how it would be if you started cleaning your body for the first time today. How dirty would you be? How much soap would you need to clean all that dirt that has been accumulated in your body for all these years? How much time would you need? Definitely more than 10 minutes. The difference between the physical and the spiritual hygiene is that the physical hygiene can be completed in one go, whereas the spiritual hygiene is something that may actually take years to be achieved. Now, I'm not talking about cleaning the negative energies of others that may have been stuck to your aura. This thing you will achieve quite soon, most likely in less than a week. However, the aura cleaning goes beyond that. As all of our past experiences have left their imprint on our aura, cleaning our aura can go as far behind as in our early childhood and also our past lives. You may have had experienced a trauma or an embarrassing situation or a pain or an anger that you had never truly expressed. Cleaning your aura will bring those things to the surface and you will be able to overcome them. This will result in past burdens you may not even be aware that you're carrying being lifted off of you, and you will feel more free. This can even affect your physical body, such as having clearer thoughts than before, or perhaps finding it easier to concentrate or to even be inspired and creative. You may find it easier to talk with others, or you may feel more at peace in solitude and on your own. Each one of us is individual, and we should never think that what applies to us applies to others. So, regardless of the beautiful results you will see in your life after a successful aura cleaning, it is important to remember that before we heal a wound, we need to clean it first. There are 2 ways to clean your aura, and you can do whichever one you feel most comfortable with. One of them is with a ball of light, and the other is perhaps more direct, but maybe less effective. For your information, I was using this less effective method for many years and it still helped me tremendously. So choose whichever one feels more natural to you. In the end, the most important thing doesn't have to do with the method, but with your visualization, your focus, and your will to succeed in cleaning your aura. So let's start with the second method, which may be easier for some people. You can sit comfortably in any way you desire. No need to have your legs crossed or your hands in that meditation posture we are used to seeing. I personally prefer to have my legs straight in front of me, so I'm used to sitting on the bed or the floor, as it helps me to better visualize the light in my legs. You could lie down if you want, but chances are you're going to fall asleep, so I wouldn't recommend it. As you sit comfortably, you should try to focus in yourself. What I mean by that is that you should try to relax and not pay attention to any external stimuli, such as cars going by or people or children shouting. Surely it would be great if we were in a quiet village and tried to meditate, but life's no fun without a little challenge. If you're very busy and don't have the time to sit quietly for 5 to 10 minutes, You could even try cleaning your aura while sitting in the bus, going to work or returning home. You can basically do this outside as long as you are able to focus. A simple method of achieving a state of relaxation is to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds, always using your nostrils and not your mouth. If 4 is a small number for you, go for 5 or 6 or 7. Just make sure to use the same number throughout the entire breathing. After you relax, and you don't have to relax too much, you just have to relax enough to be able to focus, concentrate on your aura, the energy field that surrounds your body. You can imagine it as an invisible layer around you. As you focus on it, visualize that it is filled with a brilliant white gold light, in other words, the color of the sun. One method that I've used to more easily see that color was to try and remember the beautiful, powerful sun I had looked at when I was at the beach, or even when I was a younger child. I would then visualize that powerful, cathartic color into my aura. If white gold is very difficult for you, then just go with white. You can visualize this light covering your aura, starting from the head, the neck, the chest, the hands, and so on, until you reach the feet and it covers you entirely. You could even imagine the sun rays covering the front of your body, but imagine the light of those rays into your aura, so the area surrounding your body and not just your skin or your internal organs, and then moving to the back of your body. If you're more comfortable in visualizing the light within your body as well, you can do so, but just know that it's not necessary. Cleaning your aura is enough to affect your body in its entirety. You should keep this light in your body until you feel that your aura is clean. In other words, you will feel more relaxed and as if a weight has been lifted off of you. If you're having a difficulty feeling that, which again is absolutely normal in the beginning, and it could even take 2 weeks to achieve it, give yourself some time. You can hold the light in your aura for 5 to 10 minutes on a daily basis until you achieve this feeling of relaxation. After that, you will be able to clean your aura and understand when it is clean by feeling that relaxation even without seeing the light, if visualization is more difficult to you. And it's just simple as that. You don't need any mantras, also known as words of power, for which we will talk about in a future video. And you don't need to keep yourself in weird or uncomfortable positions, such as in certain martial arts, where the goal is to strengthen both body and spirit. All you need is to focus and to visualize, and you can clean your aura as simple as that. The other method, which I've recently started using, is by visualizing a ball of light. Again, this ball should ideally be filled with white gold light, like a small sun standing on top of your head. And by holding that ball on top of my head, I basically imagine it hovering there, I start moving that ball downwards, covering my head, my neck, my chest and arms, and bit by bit going through all of my body and exiting out of my feet, while at the same time collecting all the negative energies that have been accumulated in my aura and pushing them downwards and out through my feet. You can actually visualize a grey or even black color representing all that filth and being pushed out of your body through your feet, and then collecting that dirty energy in a pile next to you or in front of you. As you can see, this method requires a bit more visualization, so it's not ideal for beginners. You should repeat the method with the ball 3 times in a row, and every time you should collect the dirty energies in that pile and visualize your aura being more and more bright and clean. Now, there are 2 things you could do with that pile. One of them would be to visualize them dissipating into thin air, basically visualizing them disappearing and being gone forever, or you could imagine that that pile of negative energies goes back to the ones who sent them to you. I know this will probably sound quite unorthodox in a meditation video, as the people who meditate are always portrayed as ever-loving and forgiving people, but I'm not quite like that. I believe in justice. I don't believe in karma the way people are talking about it today. Karma is an ancient Sanskrit word, and roughly translates to action. And it's not exactly connected just to a person's wrong deeds. Karma actually has to do with the experiences we've accumulated from past lives as a whole. So if we were poor in a past life, or for whatever reason we thought of being poor as a virtue, as unfortunately is taught in certain ideologies today, it is very probable that we'll be poor in this lifetime as well, as that experience and the energies of that experience have become engraved into our souls. Hence, it has become our karma. In ancient India, it was taught that we can literally overcome and burn our karma through meditation. As you can understand, this has nothing to do with doing wrong deeds or hurting others, but it has to do with one's consciousness and past experiences. The simplest example I can give you to show you that karma doesn't really exist as a punishment for one's wrongdoing is to look at our politicians or other persons of high status who have wronged masses of people in the worst ways imaginable and who have not only not been punished for their crimes, but they're also free to enjoy life and their wealth, not having the tiniest sense of remorse for their actions. I know that most Greek people can understand what I mean, but I'm sure that even people in other countries know of certain individuals in positions of power who have never gone punished for their crimes. So the law of karma as a punishment for one's wrongdoings doesn't really exist. Now, getting back to the aura cleaning with a ball of light, if you wish to send those negative energies back to the ones who sent them to you, all you need to do is to visualize that pile of energy. You can actually condense it into a ball. In other words, imagine that pile of negative energy turning into the shape of a ball. And then visualize, think, will that ball shooting away from you and back to the senders. You can literally imagine a person without distinct characteristics, something like a vessel for all the ones who have wished you harm and sent negative energies to you, and imagine the ball or the pile with the dirty energies shooting with force back to them and into them, and then just let it be. After you have sent those negative energies away, or after you have visualized them being dissipated into thin air, you should focus on your aura again and see it shining with a brilliant white gold light. I actually like to visualize that I am flying and I am looking at myself, being shining like a sun. You will most likely feel the relaxation quicker that way than if you had done the other method, as you will have already cleared a lot of filth out of your aura with the help of the ball. But again, this is kind of advanced, so don't feel bad if you can't do it. These are the two basic methods for the aura cleaning. There are other creative ways you can try as well, such as taking a shower and imagining the water cleaning the negative energies out of your aura. What's important is to see the white gold or just the white light in your aura. It is also important to feel the relaxation from clearing your aura, but this will come in time. Seeing the light is also going to be difficult in the beginning. Do not be discouraged or disappointed at yourself. As I said before, imagine how time-consuming and difficult it would be if you cleared your physical body for the first time today. And again, as I said before, the aura cleaning goes much deeper than the pores of your skin, so you need to give yourself more time and be understanding with yourself. There is this quote that says, "The Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour." With daily effort and dedication, we can achieve to go beyond what everyone tells us that it's possible. If you have any questions about the things I mentioned or about this meditation, feel free to write them in the comments and I will surely respond back to you. If you have a suggestion for a future video, a meditation or topic that you'd like me to cover, write it in the description and I will most likely make a future video about that. For the time being, I'm thinking of continuing with the aura cleaning and move into the aura of protection and later on talk about the chakras. Finally, as YouTube has quite a few guidelines that clearly say that they can take a person's video down or even their channel at any given moment for any reason they see fit, and I mean that quite literally. You can read their guidelines if you don't believe me. I also have my videos uploaded on the video platform Odyssey. I have a link in the description of the video, and I would personally suggest you keep it bookmarked in your browser, in case I become too expressive for YouTube. And I'm not talking about the language, but about my ideology that doesn't follow any narrative or movement. So that's all, and until next time, be the sun. Remember that the power has always been within you, and you will now have the keys to unlock it. It would be a shame to let it go to waste, don't you think?